Thank you. I would like to call this meeting to order, the meeting of Tuesday, January 15th in the Kirby Smith Boardroom. Can we all stand for the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the December 4th school board meeting.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. McNeely and seconded by Mrs. Orianati. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion? The motion passes. The next item is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of the agenda? Again, Mrs. McNeely moved and Mrs. Orianati seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item is the presentations on the agenda, and Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you, board members, Dr. Boyd, ladies and gentlemen. Several years ago, our business partnerships coordinator, Kelly Costamo, was at Lake Forest Elementary School the day after the Christmas break that year, and she was in the lunchroom, and the kids were being unusually quiet and very intense, concentrating on their meals. And Kelly asked the principal, what did you do to them to get them so quiet? And he pointed out that over the Christmas break, a lot of these kids weren't getting regular meals because most of them relied on free and reduced price breakfast and lunch for their primary nutrition during the day. And so when they came back from Christmas break or any break, they tended to be pretty hungry and really focused on eating the food that was provided at the school. And so the idea for the Holiday Food Basket program was born. And ever since then, Kelly has shepherded that program through and made it a reality, and it's gotten bigger and better every year, which is fortunate because especially in the last few years, the need has grown bigger. So at this point, I wanted to ask Kelly to come in and share with you all how well the program did this year and what made it such a success. So Kelly?
Thank you. Well, we started out this year with the goal of serving 600 families, and we came up with that goal based on last year having collected about 500 boxes of food, and from interviewing the guidance counselors and the school staff and about how many they thought they could serve. And so that came as our goal, and we thought that was a pretty lofty goal, but after all of our donations, collections throughout the community, we were able to serve 815 families this year. And we really kind of run out of time. We don't start collecting until right after Thanksgiving, and we have to have the food at the schools by the Monday. This year it was Monday, so that they could get the food to the families by Wednesday. And I mean, really, literally on Tuesday, I was still calling schools. Can you help 3 families more? I have more. Somebody brought me more. So really, this year the whole community was so generous. And we have so many people, businesses, churches, families to thank. So I just want to thank a few. At Santa Fe College, this was their umpteenth year participating, and they collected more than 50 boxes of food, including the gift card and everything that went in it. University Lutheran Church was a pretty small church, collected 42 boxes, and they had set a goal for themselves of 12. So 42 when they called me on Monday to say, could you come multiple times to collect our boxes? They were very excited. River Cross Church in the Hale neighborhood easily collected enough for 70 families. Every year we partner with Trinity United Methodist, and they have their big Thanksgiving project, and when that is done, they kindly give us their leftover pieces and parts that they weren't able to use. And so that starts it, and then this year we were also able to partner with the Food for Kids Backpack Project. And this was really key to our success this year because they already have a storeroom that has some of the things that we needed in it. So when we ran out of milk, instead of having to run to the store right then to buy more, we were able to borrow stuff that they had and then pay them back, which kept our volunteers working. And it also helped us because in the past we have done this project in my office, and for those of you who have been there, it's not exactly spacious enough to handle 800 boxes, and so we were able to use their pallet jacks and their pallets to kind of spread out and really take some space up. And April was able to come and help us, so she got to see our new digs, and so it was very successful, and they are willing to let us come there again. UF helped out a lot. The College of Public Health and Health Professions this year collected enough, $1,000 in cash plus enough for several baskets. The Gainesville Charitable Fund continued to help. And then also we have several schools that really, really do a nice job. The Buholtz Key Club collects more than 50 boxes. The Knappau Builders Club collected more than 40. Terwilliger, Norton, Hidden Oak, Childs, and the Kirby and Sivia families all really collected. So, we had a really lot of people who chipped in. And then we have individuals who give anywhere from $5. And then this year, through our new effort with the foundation, we were able to use PayPal, and we had a single $3,000 contribution.
Oh my gosh.
So somebody was obviously very touched, and I am thankful to Joey with the Gainesville Sun because he put that information out there, and lots of people were able to donate that way. And then finally, really the people at the schools help make this project successful. The truck mail people had to make a new stop a couple times a week at our new place, which we did have an elevator to lift it up, so that was something new and different for them. The front office staff really has to coordinate with the families to make sure they get the food, the guidance departments, my office. Jackie and Keith helped me. They gave me the opportunity to use their school board car so that I wouldn't have to spend my own gas, but thank you, but their little Sunbird really just doesn't hold a lot of food. So I continued to use my Mom-mobile van for that. So anyway, thanks for the opportunity to come and tell you about it. We're really very excited, and we didn't weigh every box, but from our average weight, it ended up being about 35,000 pounds of food that we collected, and I couldn't have done it without all of these people. And we were able to leave our remnants for Food for Kids, so our families will still be enjoying, throughout this semester, our leftovers. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
You know how it goes. Somebody comes up with a good idea, and they usually end up getting stuck actually implementing that great idea. And so that's certainly been the case for Kelly, and she's thrown herself into it heart and soul. She is definitely running around like a chicken with her head cut off during the last few weeks before the break, but what an enormous difference it makes. I mean, this is the difference between not eating regularly and actually having meals for 815 children and their families. That's huge, and I think that's really what the holiday season is all about, and certainly what we're all about with the school system. So Kelly, I'm very pleased to present you with a certificate of appreciation for all the work that you've done, and thank you so much, and I don't even want to know what your goal is going to be for next year, but again, thank you very much, and we just want you to shake hands with the board members. And
Okay, Mrs. Orianati also would like to say something.
Kelly, I have a question really fast on your toes here. You did 815 baskets for the holiday food drive. Mm-hmm. Do you remember how much you did for the Thanksgiving for the Alachua County School family?
Well, I don't do Thanksgiving. Trinity coordinates Thanksgiving.
But I know that we did.
But we have various schools and Kirby
right.
and other that do
Any
contribute
ideas on during that program? April, you might could kick in. I know that your church participates in this.
I have honestly no idea.
Yeah, I don't coordinate Thanksgiving, and actually the schools kind of forget too, and so I get calls, like in November. So how many Thanksgiving baskets am I going to get? And I'm like, yeah, remember I do winter break, not Thanksgiving. Okay. So I don't know. I do know schools collect for that. So like I know GHS, for instance, I think they helped like 20 families. I know Buholtz collected amongst their school staff.
So the schools are all still, but they're just not coming under your auspice, but you're coordinating both back to back.
Right.
Thank you.
One other thing is we do give our total of food to the city collection.
Right.
So last year we collected the most out of all. I'm sure we have this year also. So it's a coordinated effort for both things, and that goes to they let us count it for the November food drive.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Come on up, Kelly.
I need to hold up the thank you train here.
Yeah, you gotta come this way.
Thank you so much.
Get those little marks across there.
We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sweetie.
Burkett. The next item is the Green Globes certification. Mr. Burkett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I could ask the board and the superintendent to come down front
Okay.
and remain there for this presentation and the second presentation, please. Thank you. Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members, we are very excited about Meadowbrook earning the Green Building Design through the Green Globes process. We have a number of folks in the audience tonight who have worked very hard on the Meadowbrook project. First, from our facility staff, I would like to introduce Mr. Eddie Sousa, Project Coordinator, Mr. Tom Coward, Ms. Vicki McGrath, and Ms. Teresa Sterling Wood. I would be remiss if I did not include Mr. Ed Gable, who I know you know moved to Sarasota to take another job, and also Mr. Will Warner, who I know would be very proud of this accomplishments through all his hard work on Meadowbrook. We also have representatives from our contractor, M.M. Parrish, Mr. Bryce Hartley, Project Manager, Mr. Brian Harrington, and Mr. Ed Myers. Mr. Mike Walsh was also scheduled to be here today, but unfortunately he took ill this afternoon. From CHW, our engineering firm, we have Ms. Monique Heathcock, Director of Engineering, and Mr. Jim Stagey from our architect firm of Senko Schultz was planning to be here to introduce our presenter, but unfortunately he took ill this afternoon as well. A lot of flu going around, I guess. Therefore, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Charles Gilbert, who is a professor at the University of Florida and co-founder and chief executive officer of the Cross Creek Initiative Incorporated. He is the founder of the Center for Construction Environment at the University of Florida. Dr. Kibbert is here to explain the Green Globes process and present the award to the board. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Great pleasure to be here this evening. As you may know, I'm a professor at the University of Florida, and my academic life has been devoted towards creating a high-performance green environment, which is very, very important as we enter this era of climate change and events like Superstorm Sandy and more violent weather and so on, and many other negative impacts. So Meadowbrook Elementary School represents a very monumental effort to try to reverse that trend and to create responsible buildings. Many of you have heard of the U.S. Green Building Council's LEED system. When we met initially as a project team, we realized that actually LEED was not going to produce the type of building we wanted. There was some innovations there which oddly enough were prevented by LEED. And when the team looked around for an alternative, I was there as the green building consultant. I mentioned another alternative rating system called Green Globes. And just for the sake of transparency, I'm actually on the board of directors of Green Globes, which is the Green Globes organization in Portland, Oregon. But they're an outstanding way of actually producing a green building. The team bought into that. And they did produce a very outstanding result. So if you're familiar with LEED, you realize there are several levels of buildings, starting with platinum as the highest, then gold, silver, and certified. Green Globe system is a little bit different. There's 4 Green Globes as the highest, 3, 2, and 1 as you go down the line, corresponding roughly to the same levels in LEED. So I'm very proud to announce and be able to present a plaque this evening that indicates that the Meadowbrook Elementary School has been awarded 4 Green Globes, the very highest level. To give you an idea of how outstanding that is, at the University of Florida, we have approximately 50 certified green buildings. Of that 50 buildings, only 1 is a platinum building. So it's a very rare event, and I'm very proud to have been a member of this team. And I have to tell you, they collaborated, they went beyond the norms, they produced outstanding results to give you a very low energy building. When you walk in through the rooms of that building, you realize that everything's under very automatic controls. When you walk into a classroom, the lights come on, detect your presence. The air conditioning system comes on. If the students walk into the toilets adjacent to the room, the toilets flush automatically. So everything is done in a very precise, very energy efficient, water efficient fashion. And I think you're going to find that the students in that school have much better performance with respect to their academic achievement. Green schools such as Meadowbrook inherently have daylighting and better air quality and better temperature control and better indoor environmental conditions, which produce much better performance on the part of the students. Again, a great achievement. I congratulate the project team, the constructors, the engineers, the school board, project team as well, all collaborated in outstanding fashion. I've been around many, many green buildings in my life, many project teams, and these guys did the most outstanding job I've ever seen, so you can be very proud of them. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Great, thank you. Thanks, sir. You want to do this plaque?
Thanks for handling it. You can if you want to.
Somehow.
We must talk.
Okay, Jackie, you want to take a picture? Let's have our guest up front here.
A couple of rows, I think the shorter people in front.
You guys get up front.
Come on, Vicki.
You can do your split down front.
Come on, Vicki. Oh, yeah, come on, come on. Come on, come on.
Take it in.
Okay, if you can't see this, I can't see your face, so let's see if there's that. Oh, this looks wonderful. All right, everyone, on the count of three, we're gonna take a couple of these. 1, 2, 3, and just one more.
Did we break it on the first?
Out of film.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you all.
Thank you very much. So this is actually the four green globes, and again, it's very rare. You made it, so we're very proud of that. Good hangs in the school, very proud of that.
Did you bring sure they did? This is it. Did you?
Beautiful. Great. You should be photographed. Great.
I got a greenhouse.
I think Charles had it.
Okay, I didn't know.
I think we'll give this to us.
Okay, one more presentation, board.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we're always happy when, and excited when people bring us money. Tonight we have in the audience Drs. Barry and Elaine Jacobson and Mr. Don Ryan from Solar Impact. And I'm going to ask the three of them, along with any of the investors that have come with them tonight, to come forward to make a presentation.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here tonight. I appreciate this opportunity. We've been rushing around so much with our school solar projects. We just wanted to take a minute to stop and look back at what we've done, look forward, recognize some of the many people who were involved. On the last presentation, they mentioned Ed Gable, who was instrumental in this. We were told up front, Ed's going to be the problem. He's going to hate you up on your his roof. He won't, and he was just supportive throughout the whole thing. I want to thank Tom Cowards here, Keith, so many people. Again, Will Warner. Sorry for the loss there. Teresa Sperling Wood was been on the end and is coming in on the next phase. Eddie is coming in on the next phase. We're meeting with them tomorrow about the next phase of that. And I really want to thank each of you who's been here throughout this whole thing, through the highs and lows, through the naysayers. I mean, it's really been an amazing thing. But really what it's about is the win-win of what we've done here. It's about, well, it's about the kids. It's about them seeing solar. It's about them having that experience. It's about raising money for the schools. It's about creating jobs. These projects alone have created over $1 million worth of work for local people. That, I was thinking about when you were talking about the food for some of these kids. We are employing some of their parents, probably people who are saying, in the holidays this is the worst time they ever have. And so there's just so many pieces. So we just really wanted to stop and thank you. Don is holding a symbolic check of the money that's going to be raised over the next 20 years, so please don't try to attempt to cash this. It will bounce. And we hope next year to be coming back. The feed-in tariff is open until early February, and we are definitely going to be hitting hard to do more for the public schools. So again, thank you all for all of your support, and we look forward to doing more.
Thank you. Come on, Robert, let's take a picture.
Thank you, sir.
Come on up front here. Hold that check.
Well, you can be right between us here.
There you go. And I don't think I'm blocking you. Dr. Ford, you got okay? Just a little bit
I can
that
see
way?
you.
There you go. April, get closer. Thank you. All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, count of 3. 1, 2. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to get a picture, hon? All right, we'll stay here. We're
right,
we're
we're
locked in. Go ahead.
Oh, you are. Okay, bye. See you.
Your group is right.
1, see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Pleasure.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, man.
And Elaine.
Thank you. You're signing good chat, my friend.
Yeah. Make sure they won't take that in the drive-through. They have to go inside.
Oh, okay, more?
No,
We're
we're
done,
good.
okay. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I know.
I'd just like to take a moment to say how proud we are of our district for these 2 initiatives, the solar panels and the Green Globes building. It's just wonderful. We're in the vanguard of energy-saving schools, and I'm very proud of everyone involved. Thank you. The next item is Superintendent Board Member announcements. I see, goodness, lots of, I don't know who was first, but Mrs. Orianati, we'll start
I
with
think
you.
Dr. Paulson beat you to it.
That's all you go.
Okay.
I'll go fast, there's people waiting to speak tonight. I would like to congratulate Pat Hughes and of course everyone in our district. Thank heavens for our phenomenal flu miss program. We're not ranking at the top of the news like a lot of states are right now. And it has just saved our county, and the health department recognized us in the paper this week. And so I just want to thank all the parents who got their children inoculated in our schools or their pediatrician's offices. I want to remind everyone about the magnet open houses. People, it just kind of gets away from them. This is the month, folks. If you're interested in getting your child in, now is the time. And all of the teachers, and I'm telling you, music teachers, there's a special place in heaven for music teachers. But I had the privilege of attending so many of the programs in our schools, and it is just wonderful. And I want to thank the teachers and the help of the parents and our precious children. And I enjoyed each and every one of them. And I think that's it for me right this minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Orianati. Dr. Paulson?
Thank you, Mrs. Roy. I'd like to take this opportunity to, first off, remind people that we're heading into the time of the year with the Martin Luther King holiday or celebrations coming up. And the Sunday night, I went to the MLK dinner along with Mrs. Roy and Dr. McNeely. It was a tremendous event. And, I'm a big believer in history because we look back and we see what people have sacrificed. And this week that kicked off this week. It was a tremendous event.
the speaker was the head of the Urban League, I think it was, Mark, how do you say his last name?
Moriel.
Moriel, and I'm sure most of you have seen him on things like Meet the Press and other things. He used to be the mayor of New Orleans, a tremendous speaker, and he brings back things. And I sat people at the table. I had a lady that said she marched in Mississippi. She's a professor at the University of Florida, and I saw people's tears in their eyes. And I just think it's a wonderful event. Sometimes we got to realize what people did. You know, it's just like this school district. Dr. Boyd and I get together. We talk about the history of the school district. You know, history is an important thing to remember. So that's important. The other thing is, and this is, you know, I hesitate to do this because we can't do everybody, but you know, holidays a wonderful time of year, and but it's also, you know, we lost some great people, and I know as a person that used to be the head of the union or association, we lost a person off the executive board, Robert Hessel's teacher at Howard Bishop, and he died the other night, this weekend, I don't know what day, and you know, I hope you can think about him in your prayers. Glenda Kelly was a teacher at Newberry High School, I knew real well, and she passed away. A great lady. These people still weren't, you know, I look at them, they're the same age I am. And you say, well, you know, why couldn't they just have some more time? But if you can remember these. The last person is a guy named Bill McBride, who ran for governor. I don't know if you remember him, in 2002. And, you know, Bill and I remember the first time he came here, and they took me down to meet him, and they said, you know, I played football at the University of Florida, and they said, Bill McBride played football. Do you know? And I said, well, I had a Bill McBride in my freshman class, but he was a running back, and I wasn't sure. And the running back was about 5'10", 195 pounds. Bill, if you've seen him, you know it's not him. And but we got to be good friends, and he always is there when you need him. I needed a speaker for dinner. He was there. If I could get his wife, Alex Sink, he was there. And if she couldn't be there on time, he'd be there ahead of time, filling in for him. He was that type of person, and you know, I didn't know. And, you know, we talked. He never made a big deal. He says, Gunnar, I didn't get to play. He left when I came in because he said he hurt his knee. And so I went to the funeral, and you know, and I realized what a man this was. And you know, as I told the lady next to me, we got a lesson in life here today. He was a Marine in Vietnam. They talked about a person that had his leg shot off, and he carried him for 2 miles over his shoulder and saved the man's life. His son was talking. I'll give you an example. His son said they were out of town, and he saw a piece of paper, and the mother, Alex Sink, and the daughter were ahead, and he said they passed it by, and Bill said, Bert, how come you didn't pick that up? He said, well, Dad, we're out of town. What difference does it make? He goes, it only taken a second, and you could have made a small difference in the world. And one thing he always said is, what can I do for you? And I'm going to tell you what he did for education. And you remember he beat John Reno, which was one of the great upsets in Florida history in the primary, and lost to Jeb Bush, and it actually was ahead going last week. But because of that, you know all these terrible things we've had done to us? We'd have had a lot more done. He's the reason, and nobody will ever know that, he's the reason a lot of this stuff has been able to be fended off, some of these bad things that have happened in public education. So I just want to say, I hope you remember a great man. He's a humble man, never wanted anything for himself, served his country. One more, and they said that he was in law school at the University of Florida in 1967. Everybody knows back then there were 500,000 men in Vietnam. And he said he was going to drop law school, and he got his buddies together. One of them said, well, why do you want to get with Vietnam? Not only just go in the Army, go in the Marines. He said, because of the Kennedy speech, you know, not what you can do, country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that's the kind of person he was. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm proud to call him a friend. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the state of Florida that says that. The last is, you know, we've got the state legislature meeting tomorrow. We need to really, a lot of things are coming up. The Common Core standards. If people think things are tough now with the test, what do you see in 2 years if we have to be tested with Common Core standards? Well, other states are going to be putting it off to 2020. Of course, our state is going to rush it and try to do it in 2015. They're going to talk about safety in the schools. We need to be pushing that. And they need to put their money where their mouth is. And they're meeting about that tomorrow, too. House appropriations. And finally, anybody know what PICO is, the Public Education Capital Outlay? We have gotten anything out of PICO the last few years where charter schools have gotten $55 million, Keith, each year. So these are the kinds of things we need to put the pressure. Our governor says he wants to help us. Hey, let's see if he'll do it. But you know something? If we sit back and we don't do anything, then we won't get anything done. So I appreciate the time and everybody listening to me, and thank you, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson. Dr. McNeely? Oh, thank you for reminding me.
I didn't
Yes,
mean to take so
indeed.
long. I apologize.
No, that's all right. Thank you for the reminder. I'd like to recess the meeting right now and commence the public hearing on the calendar for the 2013-14 school year. We have two documents to consider. The original draft proposed by the school board, school district personnel, I should say, and the ACEA draft. The floor is now open for testimony about the calendar. If anyone would like to speak, you can come to one of the two microphones. State your name.
Karen McCann, President of Alachua County Education Association. Dr. Boyd, school board members, Herschel, Keith. I just want to give you a little background. I thought it would be important. You have a big decision to make as to why ACEA proposed the ACA calendar. Over the course of the last couple of years, the Alachua County Education Association has received phone calls from teachers and ESPs and members wondering why we have never had the week off when 28 other school districts in the state of Florida have the week. And when I prompted to find out why it would be important or what the interest would be, the response that I got was that a lot of our employees, and in fact a lot of our citizens in the state of Florida, are not native to Florida, but we're transplants, me being one of them. And being as though Thanksgiving has always been a huge family time to sit around the table together and break bread, etc., many of them felt like they couldn't, in 5 days, they couldn't drive the distance to Ohio or Pennsylvania or Indiana. They couldn't afford plane fares for a family of 5 or 6 to fly in that amount of time. And since other districts were having a week off, with that being a total of 2 weekends plus 5 days, it's really more like 9 days, that it would be feasible for them to be able to drive to another state, have Thanksgiving. So this is why the ACEA pursued investigating our calendar, which is entire week of Thanksgiving, with the 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, being school days at the end of the school year. I just thought I would give you a little background, and that's why we did it. I do want you to know it is public hearing. I don't hear anybody up here yet, but I think it's pertinent for you to have the information since you're going to be making a decision. That we sent around a ballot to everybody in our bargaining units, regardless of whether they were ACEA members or not. Everyone got a ballot. We had 49% vote. So of the 3,600 members in the two bargaining units of teachers and ESPs, we had 1,750 members that turned in ballots, which was pretty good. Of the ballots that they turned in, 69% of those ballots wanted the ACEA calendar, and obviously 31% wanted the school board calendar. The breakdown ended up being 1,180 ballots for the ACEA calendar, 540 for the school board calendar, and 30 votes that came in that had no preference. So that gives you a little background information on that. In making your decision, there was some misconstrued information. A lot of our transportation employees many of them that voted in the different compounds said that they did not want the ACEA calendar because they thought they weren't going to get, they thought they were going to get shorted 2 days on their paycheck before Christmas. That's not the case. We wouldn't be looking at changing the way that they get paid, the schedule, or the number of days. So that was a misconception. Certain employees work 180 days a year, and that includes bus drivers and a lot of our paras and our clerical, and they would still work and get compensated for 180 days. And it is the same with children who would still attend school the same number of days, and the 196-day contract with instructional would remain the same. The major difference is the 2 days of the Thanksgiving week would be at the end of the school year, so instead of the students leaving on a Tuesday of the first week in June, they would be out on Thursday. And that's, I think, pretty much the information that I can share with you in helping you make your decision. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McCann. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the calendar? Well, I see board members are all wanting to speak. So I don't know who was first, but I will start with Dr. McNeely. Did you?
My line's on because of announcements.
Okay, all right. Mrs. Orianavi?
Yes, thank you. And we're in a 15 minutes, so I'll talk fast and keep going. First of all, I'd like to preface this by saying I'm born and raised here. My family's here. People come to me for Thanksgiving. I don't have to travel, so it's no big deal to me and my family either way. So I just want to put that out on the table. But I did listen. I have some concerns, and I did listen. And from the emails that I received, and Karen, when I looked at the ones that, you know, the book that was kept here at Kirby, and I think you were copied on everything, it ran 3-1 against it. So I'm not sure on the percentages you just quoted where my numbers are wrong.
No, I'm talking about employees, not emails.
Okay,
Emails.
all right, because it was running 3-1 against the proposed calendar. I have a concern, and Keith, I hate to put you on the spot, and Ward and Scott in the back. I am still concerned about people like transportation. I hate to publicly target a department, but custodians, you know, looking at the pay scale. First of all, we have high turnover in those areas. So they come in November, they just started in August, a lot of them. They do not have days built in, like a teacher that might be having, you know, carried over days. So I have grave concerns. I sit here and I listen to Kelly tell us we had 815 baskets filled for hungry kids at Christmas break. So, okay, we know the poverty in this community, and it impacts us all the time. So, I'm not sure how the pay is going to affect these parents. Are they, well, I'm gonna let them tell me. You who signs the checks, basically. Can you tell me in good faith that they are not gonna be impacted in their paychecks at all by not working those 2 days in November?
Madam Chair, if I may respond.
Of course, I'm sorry.
It's the unit that's impacted by the ACEA calendar primarily is a 12-month non-instructional people, not the bus drivers' pay. Their pay would not be impacted. But what the issue is with a 12-month, and like you say, if someone does not have you can't force them to take vacation first, 12-month people. We have in our contract up to 10 days. This would make it 12 days. They'd have to renegotiate and try to assign 12 days, which could cause, we have issues now with people who don't have enough vacation during Christmas or spring break and have to take unpaid days during that period because we do assign those days. So that is the concern is with the 12-month unit, not the 10-month unit, because their contract is based on a number of days, and they're paid over the course of the year.
And 10-month, if I could interrupt you, 10-month is the bus drivers?
Bus drivers, yes, ma'am, are
Okay.
10 months. Custodians are 12 months, so they would be impacted and possibly could be facing unpaid days if they did not have enough leave. If they chose not to be off those 2 days, a school would have to be open and a supervisor there to supervise, maybe one person had to work. Or if all the schools are closed and we have 50 maintenance workers who do not want to take those 2 days off because they don't have the accrued leave, it becomes very non-productive, and we lose 2 days basically of productivity for those people because they don't have access to people to ask questions when they go to school to make repairs. So those are the kind of things we're looking at. It's a 12-month unit that would be impacted as far as pay adjustment,
Thank you.
potentially.
Okay, another couple of concerns I had is, in them not having enough days, and them being, it's 2 days, but when you have small children, I'm not talking to school-age children where, I've heard it said, you call the girls' place, you call the Boys and Girls Club. There's people with babies. It isn't that easy, folks, and it gets expensive. So I have real concerns about childcare issues, unlike some people. And when we're getting into the missing days, they're going to need these days. I mean, we're in flu season. I mean, kids start back to school, and it starts, the runny noses, the coughs, the tummies. They start having sick kids. It's just part of starting school. So I have a lot of concern about the families. Also, 28 out of 67 counties, that's not a number that hits me between the eyes, folks. Now, if it was 50 and we were not part of it, you'd have my attention. But 28 out of 67, it's not rattling my chain any. I'm sorry. The absentees, when I looked at the numbers, I was really surprised. I thought it was going to be higher, and it wasn't. One thing that I learned this year, what do I know? My husband's been a teacher 40 years, and I didn't know this till last year, really, that teachers go in as soon as the calendar's adopted. First day of pre-planning, they're in requesting days off, and I learned last year of a lot of teachers that book those days so they get the 2 weekends in that week. They head off to the mountains for Thanksgiving. And I went, wow. I guess we're home, we don't think of these things. But in reviewing the numbers and reviewing the state numbers in concern for child care of all ages, I'm going to tell you, nothing's grabbing my attention to make this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Horinati. Dr. Paulson?
Yeah, well, let me give my impression. First of all, I think it was 34 districts had Wednesday through Sunday, and 28 had the whole week. So this would make it 33 and 29, and I think most people are headed in that direction. I know my daughter, one daughter out of state, when she had it, she thought it was wonderful. The other thing is, I thought about this a long time. You got kids go to school 180 days. Okay, so 180 days the parents don't have to worry about daycare. And if we change to give them the whole week off, they can still go to school 180 days. It doesn't impact the parents at all. We're just telling them ahead of time what 180 days they won't have to worry about daycare. So I think that's not an issue. The more I thought about that, I said, when everybody, in almost all those emails, and I think there were only about, when you say 3 to 1, there were how many emails, 30 or 40? I mean, so you're talking about 30 emails and 10 against compared to thousands. So I don't see, it didn't make sense. It's not affecting them economically. They have plenty of time to make their plans. I talked to Mrs. McCann was saying that, she was talking to the Boys Club and Girls Club. They'll be open probably those days, and she used to do that with her children. So that's not an issue to me. I mean, they got 180 days. They got 180 days. We're not telling them 2 weeks ahead of time where they have to make arrangements. They can make arrangements from that. So that doesn't make sense. The 252-day employees, I've talked to some of those too. Some of them
That's 10th month.
That's 12 months,
12 months,
252
okay.
days, excuse me. They gotta work 252 days. If we leave it open, we could look at, and this is a suggestion I have a central place where we need work done. I've talked to many, like our HARV technicians, they love it when people aren't there. They get more done. So I think there's, pluses and minuses there. The pluses are, if we do have things that need to be get done, we have 252 days. I remember when we tried to just get the Wednesday, and I had to deal with the calendar, it was hard to find days for the 252-day employees. When we tried to find hurricane days, it was tough to do it because of the 252-day employees. You got to remember now, teachers and 10-month employees do not have vacation days. They don't even have vacation days. So they just have sick days where everybody else has 24 vacation days, and, am I correct? And 10 sick days? 10 sick days, right? Right. I'll still have 14. So, and I think, the thing of they're not going to lose pay. I mean, they can still work. We just have to work it out where there's something they can be doing. So that's important too. So anyway, and then like you said, the thing about it, and I think everybody gets paid equal paychecks the whole year, don't they? I know you tried it with transportation, not doing it away, it was a nightmare.
Yes,
Gone
sir.
back to
We
equal
have
paychecks.
we have adjusted transportation to bus drivers.
What about the 252-day employees?
They're all the same.
So nobody gets a.
But the bus drivers, what I'm saying, the bus drivers right now do alter, but we're
Yeah,
looking at changing that back.
What I'm saying, it
so
will not affect people's paychecks.
Should not, yes, sir.
Unless
Unless they
they
don't
just-
have the leave, unless they don't have the leave.
Unless they don't have sick days and they want to take them any, or
Right.
vacation days, they don't have them.
Right.
So, but nobody should get punished. Nobody in the community should get punished. We haven't had that many, unless I didn't, I'm glad you guys corrected me, because I hadn't seen, we had 3-1, just we didn't have many letters. So, if we had more letters, that would be significant. When I did my doctorate, I did a survey, and I had about 50%. And I had to defend that. To have almost 50% on a survey like this is amazing. And it's a tremendous statistical tool you just brought us today, to have that many people. And I just want to say, and if somebody says, well, you think you know about this stuff? Yeah, I do know about it. I had to defend it, or else they wouldn't have given me a doctorate. So that is another thing I wanted to point out. So, I guess you can see which way I'm leaning, but I just wanted to put that out, because I really did do a lot of thinking. I was sitting there talking to my wife. Cindy, if you're watching this, I'm telling people you went along with me. I used to have her repeat what I said to her, and she goes, you're in your lecture chair again, but it doesn't make any sense. There'd still not be, there's no cost to them for childcare. There is just not any cost. And I saw people out there shaking their head. No, there's not any cost. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson. Dr. McNeely?
My comments are very brief. I think sometimes when we look at change, it can be somewhat difficult. I certainly want to have more input as to why not, as well as why are we. The emails that I received were very few. And I think we were copied the same amount. And so for an issue of this supposedly magnitude, I expected many more comments, emails, calls, whatever. It didn't happen. And then tonight I thought, when I saw the public hearing on the agenda, certainly this auditorium is going to be packed. And that's going to be a huge issue of commenting about the calendar. And I didn't see anyone get up except Karen. So I think when we look at the change, it's certainly a personal thing. Whichever way we will go with this, it's a each person has a personal thing about the calendar, whether you like it, whether you don't. So we're going to be hard put. I'm sure we'll make the right decision, but I'd like to see us sometimes change some things. And so with that, you might see where I might be leaning.
Thank you, Dr. McNeely. Mrs. Griffin? Okay.
I wasn't going to say anything, but there are two points that I haven't heard single parents, people that don't have daycare, to have their child. If you work for an hourly wage and you can't work for 2 days because you have to be home with your kids, that's a significant impact on a lower socioeconomic family. So that's one thing. I do believe that it will be an impact on several. The other thing is we did get 60 emails, and I do agree that's not a lot. And if you're out there and you want to weigh in, email us, please. But they were 40 no and 19 yes. So, I mean, that's a significant from the parents that, you know, favoring for not going with the week off. And the last thing that I haven't heard, we did get one email from a 12-month employee, and this is what I've heard from more than one person that works for us for 12 months. They don't want to be dictated on when they have to take vacation days. Several of them have vacation days. They have sick parents. They don't know when they're going to need to take them. And, you know, I think that that's an issue that we need to, the teachers that I talked to did not realize that was going on with the 12-month employees when they filled out their surveys. So those are my thoughts on it. And I do wish that more parents would weigh in if they feel strongly about it. I do believe that the ones that have asked for us not to take the week off do feel strongly about it.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Well, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Burgett, the pay for the 12 and the 10-month employee is an equal amount every time they're paid during the school year. So they would not be shorted the days before Christmas.
They would not be shorted unless they did not have annual leave to take, right?
Or did more, or they didn't work.
If they didn't have vacation time and they took, and they wanted to be off, I mean, if they have to work, I mean, if those 2 days, they would work if they don't have the time, obviously. Or if they wanted the time off, they'd have to take it unpaid. Because it can't be, like I said, the maximum
If
is
they
10
didn't have
days.
sick days,
If they have sick or vacation day, well, vacation
they don't have
days.
vacation, so.
Oh,
would be
10
sick.
month, no, 10 month, it's not a
10
problem.
month
10 months
is-
do not
yeah.
have, their contract's 180, 186, 196-day contract, and it's just stretched over the period of a year, divided by 20 pay or 21 pay as far as paychecks.
Okay. And so the 12-month employees, I don't think it was written on the drafts that they could choose to work or not? That was a question?
It was,
It was
we
said
know we
during the
can't
meeting.
force them to take off, so they would not, they'd have to work if they did not have vacation.
Mhm.
Correct. So which means you may have a school with one person that doesn't want to be off because they don't have the leave, a supervisor, and that one person would have to work that day. And you have to question how much is going to get done in that, during that period.
Right. I see. All right, is there anything else? I just want to say that the number of feedbacks we got from emails was very small in comparison to the number that responded to the ACEA. 1750 were received. So it's very small in comparison. So we will vote on that at a later
I
date.
put my light back on.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'd just like to reiterate something. We represent a community, and I keep hearing, well, it's not gonna impact childcare because it's the same days. If you are an hourly employee at JCPenney and you have little bitty kids that can't go to the girls' place, and this is the past president of that organization talking, you're gonna have to deal with childcare, folks. It isn't something we could randomly say that is not an issue. If you have a little kid, it's an issue, folks, so just understand, don't be so rigid that it's not gonna impact anyone. We are here for a whole community, 26,000 kids, however many our number is right now. Those are parents of children that have little children. And preschools may not be open, I don't know, but I'm just telling you, please, all 5 of us sitting here remember, please, we are representing a community that have children of all ages, or maybe no kids, it doesn't matter to them. But we just need to keep that foremost. And if there is anybody as a proponent for change, I'm in. I mean, I embellish change. And unlike a lot of people, so, you know, I'm open to change folks. But I'm also a mother and a grandmother, and I work in the outside world where people have to deal with childcare. So just remember, please, we're representing a whole community. And that poor hourly wage earner at JCPenney or Macy's, wherever, it's an issue. It's not going to go away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Orianati. Dr. Paulson?
I care about the community too, but maybe I'm missing it. I was a math teacher. I don't know, maybe I just can't figure it out. It's 180 days. If you take that 180 days and 2 of them are in that week with the Thanksgiving, there's going to be 2 days someplace else. They have to get childcare. Now, if you can, if you can get me some other time and explain why I'm wrong, I'd love to hear it. 180 days, they'll not have to get childcare. We're not making it 178 days. And we're not doing it the week before. The people having lots of time in advance so they can make these accommodations. Now, and I'm a grandfather too, and a father. So, I mean, I care about everybody. I'm just saying, you know, you're telling me it's going to affect them, but it's going to affect them someplace. It'd be different if we were cutting back and they had to increase the number of days they got to get it. That's not what's happening.
Thank you,
Can I
Dr.
ask one more
Paulson.
thing following up on Dr. Paulson, please?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
looking at going into the busiest retail season of the year. You know, this just hit me. Target's opening at 1 a.m., you know, Walmart's not shutting down, whatever. So they're already having the stress, these hourly workers that work in retail, the spouses or significant others. So now they're already having to look at those hours that week because it's the biggest shopping week of the year. And they're starting Thanksgiving Day or Wednesday or Tuesday before. So now you're adding this on top of that stress with the retail industry. And I just had that brilliant thought, so I don't know what you said to make me have it, but thank you.
That's why I was a good teacher.
Thank you, Mrs. Orianati. Anyone else like to speak? Well, I would just say that we're concerned with K-12, not pre-K. So childcare for pre-K would not be affected by this calendar. And I also want to say that I think everyone up here is concerned about the community. It's not that some people are concerned and those who disagree with them are not concerned. You know, we may differ in our opinions on this issue, but it doesn't mean that we're not concerned about the community. So that's what I have to say. And if there's nothing else, Dr. McNeely, do you?
That was for.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Turn it
Well, all right. The public hearing is now recessed, and the regular board meeting will recommence with the board member superintendent announcements. And I think that Dr. Paulson had spoken and Dr. McNeely was next.
Thank you.
Mhm.
As a new school board member, I know that I knew that school board members had assignments, committee assignments. What I didn't know was that it's a lot of extra work in serving the community, the different agencies, and I've had 2 interesting meetings already. One being the Head Start Policy Council, which consists of many parents who are very active, who are well informed and passionate about the education of our youngest students. Ms. Crowell has much to be proud of. I'd like to inform the community that applications for next year's program will begin on February 4th. Be on the lookout for further information regarding eligibility through the media and mass meetings. School board members had an opportunity to participate in the federal audit before we broke for winter break. The findings are not in as of yet, but I'm sure that our support of participation helped Head Start receive great commendations. Now, I want to talk about one more board. 3 more of my boards will be meeting next week. Wow, I've got to be real organized with my time. But I've met twice now with the Alachua County Library District Governing Board. I'm a governor.
Yes.
The only way I'll get to be one. But I wanted you to know that the new library database that they have implemented in the Alachua County Library District helps people find housing and employment assistance. There are many other things going on in the library district, lots of things. And if you're not keeping up with it, folks, you really need to. I'm really pleased to have an opportunity to serve on that board, and I thought it was important that the community knew about this new database. And then finally, we had a mass meeting comprised of teachers, community leaders, and our local delegation of legislators at Buchholz the last week of school before winter break. That meeting gave our wonderful teachers an opportunity to share with policymakers the flaws in our current teacher evaluation system that has been mandated by the state. We had the opportunity to hear the many great things that teachers do every single day while teaching our children. Hopefully, the understanding that the policymakers left with will help them make the right choices during the legislative session. I thought it was great. ACEA, management here, collaborated with that meeting. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need to continue to do. Right choices, making people hear what they need to hear, and understanding the hard work that all of our teachers and employees do on a daily basis. Our superintendent certainly said at our the meeting before we left for the break, it was just horrible, some of the things. And he's on board with us, we're on board, and now if we can get our policymakers to come on board, then we will see a difference in that flawed instrument. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. McNeely. Mrs. Griffin?
I just wanted to briefly say thank you to all the people that came out for the Career Tech Expo at Buchholz last week. Dr. Edwards and Mrs. Norris and their staff did an awesome job. And the bar's been raised now. You know, all of those programs are competing for the same students. And I imagine there was well over 1,200 people in attendance that day. The whole auditorium was packed, a standing room. They were lined up on the sides for the presentation, and some of the people didn't even get in the auditorium. Santa Fe High School brought a cow and a horse and a dog and little test tubes, and East Side brought their culinary students along with a block of ice and a chainsaw. The Career Academy at Newberry High School brought their uniforms and belts and all things, and it was just a really good show of what our county has for our students, and I was really proud to be there. It was really awesome, and I do look forward to going. I know that next Saturday on the 26th is Lofton High School's open house, and all of their students and the helicopters and all of those things will be out there. I don't know when Newberry is, but I try to go to those two at least every year. So I do encourage our board members and the community to go out and see what's going on, and thank Buchholz for hosting that, because I think the cow and the horse might have
Thank you, Mrs. Griffin. I agree. It is always an amazing event, that expo at, and they, Dr. Edwards, thank you, and his staff do a fantastic job. Usually it is freezing, freezing, freezing cold, but this year they caught a break and it was really nice. Also, I agree with Dr. McNeely. The meeting we had with the legislators before winter break was extremely productive. Our teachers that were picked to speak to the legislators were absolutely outstanding. Janine Playvack and was one of them, and others equally accomplished. So I was very proud of our teachers. They spoke so eloquently and helpfully to the legislators, and I want to thank them for also being there. For myself, I want to offer our deepest condolences from the superintendent, the staff, and the board members to the family of Robert Hessels, who, as Dr. Paulson mentioned, died over the weekend. He was a teacher at Howard Bishop Middle School, a very active member of the union, and especially condolences to his partner, who is Dr. Travis, not Mrs. Travis Walker, who is a teacher at GHS. So not only did we lose Robert, but his partner is also devastated, and we're offer our sympathy. Also, another retired teacher of ours passed away since the last board meeting, Mrs. Cornelia J. Smith, who was a retired teacher, a librarian, and she worked at several schools, including Howard Bishop, for many of those years, over 40 that she served the district. So we want to offer condolences to her family as well. I have a number of other things, but I'll hold them until the end of the meeting, and let us go on then to citizens' input. And we have a couple of people who, pardon? Oh, did Dr. Boyd have anything to say? No. Okay, thank you. I figured your light would be on
For a
if you
new
did.
board member, you're sure on the ball down there.
You are, reminding me.
Keeping the chair going.
Okay, we had, I think the first person was Sabrina Trotter. If you would mind coming to the, one of the microphones here or there and give us your name, and we want to hear from you.
Good evening to our board members.
Good evening.
We have voices and views to be heard. The bottom line is we need to make a decision concerning our children and decide the best solution for their security at schools. They are dependent on us as parents, the community, and this board to make a decision, an intelligent decision about their safety at schools. And we can't let them down just by making a random decision on impulse. So I have some papers here that I will pass out, and we have the next one to come up and speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trotter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person would be Rose Monroe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I stand before you this
Could you
evening.
please state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My
That's
name
all
is Rose Monroe. And
Thank
I've been
you.
in Alachua County for 18 years now. And I've noticed a lot of things that have been taking place lately. We all have with the shooting in Connecticut. So we have a concern here. As you notice, we have over 800 signatures from people in the community that really support what we're bringing to the table. And that's coming up with a solution to protect everybody in the schools, not just the kids, staff, everybody, okay? And the solution that we have is we're asking that you support that everybody in the classroom, all the teachers, all the staff members, everybody that works on that campus have a school ID. Just like you see the middle school students and the high school students, they all have school IDs. Well, we're asking that the parents have one as well. So when we have like a checkpoint set up, right before you get to the school, the officer, we can have an officer posted there with a K-9 unit, and he can have a security officer to work as his assistant. And the security officer job would be to check every parent that's coming on that campus ID. Okay, and after that ID has been checked, they're cleared to go on. Okay, that's only if they're doing a drop-off. If they need to enter into the school, they have to show 2 IDs. That I-1 ID, which requires the picture of that parent, the signature of that parent, the name of the school that their child is attending will be on that ID. Pretty much what the children are already taking now in our middle school and high school. And at that checkpoint, it'll be a second checkpoint. The second checkpoint will actually be a metal detector. Everybody will have to be required to go through that. The children, everybody. Nobody would be able to get in that school unless they go through that metal detector. A lot of schools already have it in place, but it's a lot that do not have it. This ID that we're presenting is to give a security blanket, which means we would know and have control at all times who is on that campus. Okay, I don't care who you are, you cannot get on that campus unless you have that school ID. It has to be required, okay? Officers can't identify who a criminal is. You can put 1,000 officers on a campus. You don't know what they look like. With this, you know who's coming on that campus without a shadow of a doubt. Even when that child leaves that school, we're asking that the parents have to return that school ID. If they don't, their child will not be able to receive their report card at the end of the year. So that means once that child exits that school, they can't come back. That child can't come back, that parent can't come back, so that's still giving us control.
Okay, Mrs. Monroe, could you wrap it up? We have 3 minutes.
Oh,
a
I'm
person.
sorry.
That's all right. I should have said it before you started.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So that's what we're bringing to the table. Our proposal is asking that everybody have a school ID before, you know, you can enter onto the premises or the campus of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Monroe. Okay, sorry. Mrs. Hodges, Lynette Hodges. We have it all.
I'm gonna wrap this up. We just want to be the voice for the children. That's all. They don't know anything about security. We do. We want them to. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But we want them to be safe. Children leave every day, back and forth to school. They have no idea, of safety or anything like that. But we're concerned. We love our children and we want them to be safe. And we're doing what we could. I mean, we just want them to be safe. That's all. We're just their voice, and we hope that this would, pass some kind of bill, pass for our children. That's all. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges. If I may say, I know we don't generally answer people who have citizen input, but the district is working on this with the Sheriff's Department and the Gainesville Police Department. And we will be having more meetings that will include the board and possibly the public, and we will take your suggestions to that committee. Thank you so much. So we have done citizen input. We're at the consent agenda. Dr. Boyd?
Thank you, Mrs. Roy, members of the board. I recommend that the school board approve the consent agenda as described in items 1 through 6.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that the consent agenda be approved. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you. We'll go on then to the action items. We have an employee case, and I'm not sure who's
We'll
handling
ask Mr. Lyons to
Mr.
handle
Lyons,
it,
yes,
please.
thank you.
Board members, superintendent recommends that the school board adopt employee case number E112-08.
So moved.
It's been moved, and is there a second? Mrs. Orianati moved and Dr. Paulson seconded. Is there any discussion on this case? It's confidential, so we really can't say anything. So, all in favor? All opposed? It passes. The motion passes 5-0. And we're back to citizen input again. If there is anyone who would like to address the board, please come to the microphone. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd, school board members, invited guests, for listening to me one more time, and I will make this brief. Before Dr. McNeely and Chair Roy mentioned anything about the education forum that was held on December 18th, I had planned on coming up and saying something, so thank you for bringing that up. And I want to thank those of you who were able to attend that night. It was very special to have Dr. Boyd and Dr. Paulson, Dr. McNeely, Mrs. Roy there. It meant a great deal to the teachers, and I think it made a really good impression upon the legislators to know that you were interested in what is happening. I don't think many people understand, those who are not in education, how unfair this evaluation system has become to teachers by this Senate Bill 736 that was passed. And the stories that the teachers told about when they got their VAM score based on test scores from children they have never even seen or don't know, it was a good story for our legislators to be able to hear, and it was a very positive night. It was a good night. It was positive. I've gotten really good feedback from those legislators wanting to know more. So the most important thing that we can do as a community is to bridge with our legislators here locally and continue to talk with them about the revisions that need to be made to teachers' evaluations, because it impacts students, and I think that's part of what the community doesn't really see, is that when you have an excellent, phenomenal teacher in a classroom who's doing a great job and whose principal gives them a highly effective evaluation, and then due to test scores from students they don't even see, they drop down to needing improvement or ineffective, according to the law, they may lose their jobs. And that is going to hurt kids. So I think above all, the thing that we have to bear in mind here is that it's the whole education process. It's not just teachers. It's our children who are being impacted by this negatively. So once again, thank you very much for coming. On behalf of ACEA, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. McCann. Anyone else like to speak? Well, we're at the board member superintendent requests, and Mrs. Orianati?
I don't have a request, but I'd like to just tell Ms. McCann something and bring it maybe to anybody's attention. We've been having email issues. The board members, I know I had to forward one, Dr. Paulson got mad.
You sent me that money?
Yeah. But my were not coming to me, they were being quarantined. And your email about that meeting, I had already accepted to go to two schools that night. But my email did not come until like 4 o'clock that day. So I don't know, I keep getting all these quarantine things. So understand, we've got some computer issues going on. You're welcome to call, but we just got hit hard, especially that week, and Dr. Paulson this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orinati. Anyone else? Okay, I have a few things. You know, a lot has happened since our last school board meeting, where our new Commissioner of Education, Tony Bennett, is speaking out and claims he'll be listening to parents and teachers. He's a big supporter of Foundation for Florida's Future, which is the Jeb Bush organization. We received our high school grades, and for the most part, they were excellent. We had A's and B's mostly, and so we're very proud of our high schools. The payroll tax is increased by 2% for all employees for Social Security, FICA. So we have less in our paychecks, and school security is a top priority of all the nation's schools in the wake of Sandy Hook. And I have spoken to Mr. Lyons about, and Mr. Wright about having a crisis management school security meeting with board members and explain to us what agreements have been made with the local law enforcement officers and how this is proceeding, and you know, addressing some of the concerns that these women have who testified tonight. About Diamond Sports Park, I would like to be kept in the loop. I read the contract that we have with Newberry again, and I see they have yearly audits, quarterly reports, citizen council reports, joint purchases by the district with the city of Newberry, et cetera. So a number of things that, you know, if we could just know a little bit about what's going on, you know, between the times that we approve the agreement for the next 3 years, I would appreciate that. I went to the tour of the new, of the Alachua County Correctional Facility on 39th Avenue, which is being sought by the city as a homeless center. It is ideal in so many ways. There are more than 20 buildings on the site. It's huge. It starts at 39th Avenue and goes all the way to Morningside Nature Center on East University Avenue and backs up to Noonan's Lake. So you can see what a huge property that is. And the city is very hopeful and cautiously optimistic that they will get that property. And I spoke to Ken Van Nortwick while I was there. Ken is a person who's worked with Reichert House for more than 20 years. He's been very instrumental in getting a lot of the enhancements that Reichert House has. And he has been talking about something for years, and if the city gets this property, he wants to start a boarding school for children, boys, who have no adult presence in their life, no guardian, no parent, who are just at complete loose ends as to how to live their lives. And he has investigated this in detail and says that there's no other arrangement that can be made to serve these students if they don't have guardians. You can't have students in a facility unless their parent or guardian are there. The only exception is a boarding school. He does not want to do a charter school, which I'm happy to hear. He wants to stay in the traditional school system, and so I hope we'll be hearing more about this, and I'd like for us to, just be in the loop about this desire that he has for a boarding school. And I think it would have to be something like a satellite campus for our school system in the neighborhood of the southern part of the property, which, as I said, has more than 20 buildings. So they could easily afford to, and he says he has the money. I don't want to hear, he said, that we don't have the money because I have more than $250,000 set aside already to bring this into being. And he also is concerned about kids, which they call themselves the bold people, bold, overt leaders of distinction. These are young men from the ages of 18 to 22 that are released from correctional facilities. And they come to Gainesville, they have no money, no parents, no skills, no friends, and they desperately need to be served, or else the only thing that they can do is turn to crime. So he's very interested in that age group too. I read on our email, the Education Works. You may remember, board members, that we talked about the tax credit scholarships to private schools that are given by corporations that get a tax break to send a low-income child to a private school. Well, we are now spending $229 million a year on that program, and that is money that is taken out of traditional public school funding and going to private schools with no accountability whatsoever. It is a travesty, and it really has to be addressed with our legislators. And the governor praised this program highly, and he is very happy to say that it has doubled in the last 4 years. And this is going to continue to drain money away from our public schools unless we try to do something about it and address it with our legislators. Also, the Foundation for Florida's Future, another, the Jeb Bush Foundation, has as its legislative and policy agenda saying that students attending charter schools, this is word for word, students attending charter schools receive less funding than their peers in public schools. Is that true? No, it's not true. And this foundation is committed to equity in funding. That's another very bad sign that we need to be there to make our voices heard, because this Foundation for Florida's Future is very powerful. And they're in there fighting for this funding for their private schools. And, we just have to be aware of that. Also, I forwarded an article to Dr. Boyd and Jackie Johnson from Trend Magazine. The Floridian of the Year this year is an owner of a for-profit charter school chain, which is pretty disgusting. So another reason why I'm asking the board members to please contact your legislators and representatives when they're home is best, because it's very difficult to talk to them in Tallahassee. So that is all I have to say, and I just want to remind people about upcoming meetings. They're mostly listed for us on our agenda. Rose sent us an email today about Tuesday, February 19th at 1:30 for an executive session meeting. And that is also a day that we have a policy workshop and a school board meeting. So that is a full day on Tuesday, February 19th. And also, I received an invitation for the volunteer luncheon on Thursday, February 14th. If you, you know, might have gotten it, might not have, but that's at the Paramount, so you might want to put that on your calendar if you would like to attend. The Head Start governing training that, governance training, I should say, that Dr. McNeely mentioned, we have Mrs. Crowell would like for us to have an hour to 2 hour workshop on Head Start governance training. And we have 2 weeks to choose from, the week of March 4th to 8th and the week of March 18th to 22nd. And I think that the second week is the week that they have, the Florida School Board Association has its legislative days in Tallahassee. I saw that they have new board member orientation the 19th and 20th of that week, so I think probably the better week would be March 4th to 8th. Is there any thoughts on that from board members? On the 5th? I think that Mrs. Crowell will work with us once we decide on a week.
But if we could do it the same day, that'd be great. Everything's on this side of town.
You mean the same day
Same
as
day, yeah,
as
it's
a,
great, but we can stack them like that.
the 4th?
Yeah.
4th would be fine.
Well, wait,
Fine with me.
What day is the board meeting? Fifth.
Oh, 5th, yeah, March 5th.
Like 4 o'clock on the 5th.
What do we do?
Head Start governance training.
You guys lost me.
What we did, like, right before Christmas, so it's the same thing, we're doing it again?
I don't know. Dr. McNeely knows more about this.
I think it's called federal overkill, but they've requested it, so we have no control over this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
So
so,
we could use the time wisely that day to be in this side of town.
and maybe she could do it here as well.
Right.
You know, so,
We're at the
um,
building.
is that all right with everyone? Say 3:30 or 4, depending on how much time she needs. Okay.
And Rose, could you put that on and let us know for sure if you talk to Ms. Cromwell?
Yes.
I'll send an email after I
Thank you.
confirm with you.
Okay, and Rose would like to know if anybody would like to go to the certified board member training. We all got emails on this. On February 13th in Ocala is school finance. I've been 3 times and I'm still not clear on school finance, but if anyone would like to go to that, tell Rose. Personnel and bargaining issues is February 14th and 15th, and also in Ocala at the Hilton. And the National School Board Association Conference is this summer, July 7th to 10th in Destin, Florida.
Did we win the lottery to pay that?
Well, I think Mrs. Sharp went to the NSBA
Yeah.
last year, and that was in Washington, so this one's much closer, and it wouldn't be as expensive if you would like to go. So please let Rose know if you'd like to
She was a delegate,
Um,
it was paid for.
Oh, she was a
Register.
delegate, it was paid for, that's why she went.
Okay,
How that worked. She didn't, yeah, we didn't pay for that bill.
okay. The board member orientation has been, the emails have been flying back and forth, and would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I would.
Thank you,
I
Mrs.
think
Siegel.
it's going to be difficult to get 5 of you together on any kind of mandatory meeting with Mr. Moore and Dr. Boyd. I would suggest that since you're the new board member, that we have a voluntary meeting, at least you and I can sit down together, but we can schedule as an open meeting and notice it, so that if anybody else would like to attend but is not compelled to, then Dr. McNeely and I can pick a time that works, and I think it'll be easier for she and I to get together than try to corral the rest of you. It's like herding cats sometimes, as you well know. So with your leave, Dr. McNeely and I will figure out a time, and I'll ask Rose to notice it as a public meeting so that if more than one of you come, you can feel free to talk.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to say that there is a board member orientation, but that would not be specific to our board. That would be the state. That's March 19th and 20th in Tallahassee. Mrs. Orinati, did you want to say?
I had a couple things. Y'all are gonna regret that I'm feeling better and I have my voice again.
You will make emotions to it.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm back among the living. A couple of things. Going back to the consent agenda, I would just like to say that the Newberry partnership we've had is phenomenal. This is an example of town and gown, school board, county, community working together, and they have great leaders in that program. Rick does a great job, their city manager does a great job, and this is a win-win situation, and I think it's wonderful we passed it, and everything is, always readily available for our review, but this is an example of working together hand in hand, and I'm glad everybody, cooperated in working this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Orinati. Dr. Paulson?
Do we have any that we could meet, like, we're talking about February 4th, how long would it take, an hour? Why don't we do it on February 4th?
Well, my only problem with February 4th is, the reason I was late tonight is I may be in trial this week. And so I won't
Okay,
know-
David come?
Pardon me?
David Delaney?
Well, it's a preparation I have prepared. I guess I could ask David to learn it.
Yeah, I'd just like us to be together.
But I would.
Things change in 2
Well, why
years.
don't we, the 30th worked for Mrs. Dr.
30th in the morning, I can do in the afternoon because there's an insurance
Okay,
meeting.
The 30th in the afternoon works fine. I've got the 30th open. But it doesn't work for a couple of other people who don't.
Well, what day works while we're here?
Yeah, can we decide on a day that works for all five? I mean,
I have had input that not.
Give us some more days in February and see what we got.
That's now.
what were you gonna say, Mrs. Siegel?
I have had input that not all 5 of you feel that it's necessary to come to.
I just think it'd be good because there are things that
I
change.
understand, but there's other views.
I'm just giving you my
Yes,
view. I mean,
I know that. I tell you what, since we're going to February, I will get my calendar up tomorrow. We'll email you all a slew of dates, and
Okay.
then you can select. But I do think that if we make it not mandatory, then it might facilitate things. But that's.
Could I also make a suggestion?
Sure.
Could all of this come through Rose in the superintendent's office, and then we don't have I'm not trying to be cheap, but cha-ching, cha-ching of your time.
but it's a good idea.
And to save dollars, and you're very busy, but if you could email the dates to Rose,
I'm
let
happy to do
Rose,
that.
she coordinates with us well. Like, she knows how to handle herding cats.
I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so Rose is going to be the recipient of people's schedules.
Should we get you a pillowcase?
We'll do our best, won't we?
Okay, Dr. Paulson, your light is still on. Did you want to say something else?
Your lights on, your lights too.
No, I was just saying Rose does the best.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't have anything else, and if anybody else doesn't have anything else, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.